Hey, good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic Live. I'm your host, Neil Johnson, and I am so excited to be with you and to bring you this news, hoping that you're all ready for some great news. Agent Orange, I see you on. Yes, please do smash that like, chat in with where you're from. Always love to see who's on the stream. Already been able to say hi to a couple of you through the chat. Bob Scales, good to see you. Debs, JB's Music, all of you. Moon Pie, thanks so much for joining me today on my great news edition. Folks, Trump just got a win in the D.C. courts. That's right. We're not talking at the United States Supreme Court, but we are talking about in the D.C. Court of Appeals. We have a monster win for Donald Trump. Also, Ghetto Jasmine Crockett is going to lose her seat in the United States House of Representatives. Did you all see this? How many of you know that it's over for Ghetto Jasmine Crockett? Does everybody know that out there? Yes or no in the chat? This is an absolutely awesome story. I want to cover that as well as this big court win. Diane, good to see you on. Anyways, here we go, folks. Check this out. Where should we start? Let me just start. I'm gonna do my Ghetto Jasmine Crockett impersonation for you because she's freaking out right now. And this direct quote from Jasmine Crockett. As far as I'm concerned, these folk that decided today we're going to break quorum are more Texan and more American than the governor and the president himself, said U.S. Representative Jasmine Crockett, Democrat of Dallas. Yes, folks, their little stunt fleeing to Illinois, fleeing to New York, it did not work. The Senate passed it in spite of 9 Democrats walking out of the chamber. And 2 Democrats actually stayed, knowing, because they had been through this before, saying that, look, all it can do is delay, but Abbott is going to call special session after special session after special session until this passes. We cannot avoid this. And so all these fools take the loss. And then on top of that, people, I think the biggest news of it all was how it exposed the hypocrisy of gerrymandering in the left. Because we discussed this on the show the other day, but I want to give you something even more than what I gave you on the show the other day. I'm going to give you some numbers on gerrymandering. Going to blow your ever-loving mind. Again, please smash that like. I'm going to get to the court win here in just a second. But I'm so excited about this redistricting battle because this has long been a tool of the left to take and avoid the representation of the population. What do you mean by that? Listen to this. Massachusetts has 36% Republican vote. Guess how many seats they have in the United States Congress? The Republicans in this is excuse me, I said Maryland, I meant Massachusetts. Massachusetts, it's 36% Republican. How many seats do the Republicans have in the United States House of Representatives from that state? From there. How many in Massachusetts? How many? Okay. Thanks, Beth. Anyhow, somebody's going to get it here. Wait, maybe somebody guessed 2. EJ Kelly said 2. No, it's lower. Okay? It's lower. Believe it or not, folks. No, MJ Doris, it's lower than 1. It is 0 seats. So you are telling me that in a state that's 36% Republican, they have 0 seats. Gerrymandered to snot. Connecticut, 42% Republican. How many seats? How many seats? Hey, here, I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. All of these states I'm going to mention to you are 0. Connecticut, Maine, 46% Republican, 0 seats. New Mexico, 46% Republican, 0 seats. New Hampshire, 48% Republican, 0 seats. Rhode Island, 42% Republican, 0 seats. Vermont, 32% Republican, 0 seats. Hawaii, 38% Republican, 0 seats. Delaware, 42% Republican, and 0 seats. Somebody just super chatted me $20. B. Lynn, thank you so much. Glad to hear about Crockett redistricting. Several blue states have 0 Republican representatives in spite of Trump taking a good portion of the vote in 2024. Exactly what we're talking about here. Okay. This here, I'm going to give you guys another thing because they're threatening now. The Democrats are threatening us. They're going to redistrict. How the hell do you redistrict with less than 0 seats? Okay. They've squeezed all the juice out of that lemon. Listen to this. Here's some more blue states that were benevolent enough to give us a smidgen. California, 38% Republican, 9 of 52 seats. So basically it's half representation. You have 38% Republican with only 20% Republican seats. Okay. Let me give you Illinois, 44% Republican. 3 of the 17 seats. They're even worse, 17.6%. And that's where the Democrats fled to. Yes, to oppose gerrymandering, they fled to one of the worst gerrymandered states in the nation. That's right. New York, 43% Republican, only 7 of 26 seats. Maryland, 34% Republican, only 1 of 8 seats. Are you kidding me? Folks, I'm going to start doing some math for you. That should be 3 seats in Maryland, if we're going to be fair. That should be about 12 seats. 12 seats in New York. So we got 5. So we're looking here that the Democrats have gerrymandered the Republicans out of probably, just off this list alone, holy cats, this is close to, this is 30 to 40 seats right here. So Oregon, 1 of 6 seats. New Jersey, 3 of 12 seats. It's 46% Republican, folks. So now Jasmine Crockett is losing her seat and she's flipping her lid. Okay, so it's beautiful. But look at this. In the D.C., that's right, the United States Courts of Appeals for the District of Columbia, a case argued on July 7th. It was actually one of the earliest cases, major Doge cases, litigation surrounding Doge's efforts to, reduce the problems in the government. By the way, did you notice Elon Musk has been posting some positive stuff about Donald Trump lately on X? Maybe the bromance is coming back together. I hope so, because look, I'd rather have him with us than against us. But listen to this. This is all about the litigation over the reduction of USAID. This was a case brought by Global Health Council et al. And appellees versus Donald Trump in his official capacity as president of the United States of America et al. Appellants. Okay, so this is, if you want to know the consolidated, let's see, here it is. It's number 25-5097 if you want to look it up. It was decided just today, just a little bit ago. So there were 2 major challenges with the wind down of USAID. One regarding the terminated employees, the other regarding the grants and contracts. So if you can remember, they were all freaking out about these grants and contracts being canceled and the employees being fired. Smash that like, because I'm telling you, this is the greatest news. With a DC court rules in favor of Donald Trump like this is epic. The administration won the employee case in the district before Judge Nichols. Okay. Now, Judge Nichols was a Trump appointee. That was from his first administration. He entered a TRO, but ultimately denied a PI, which effectively ended the case. The terminations took effect, and that case has been out of the news. The other major challenge to the administration's termination of billions of dollars in USAID grants and contracts, this case being more complex, it included a trip to the Supreme Court, one of the first of the administration, threats of contempt, the works. Okay, but now it's over. It's effectively over, folks. The district court ordered USAID make payments for all work previously performed. So this makes sense. If the work was performed, and I got plenty to say, you could say it shouldn't be honored because it wasn't real work, but that's beside the point. The contract, the government had to pay out to the contracts where the work was supposedly done. Okay. So all work previously performed, but it did not interfere with the perspectives of terminations of more contracts and grants. So this is a huge win for the Trump administration. There is a catch, though. The district court did not interfere in the terminations. It enjoined the administration from impounding funds Congress appropriated to USAID for foreign aid. So they're saying that he still has to spend the funds. Okay, but this impoundment I want to mention is its own hot topic. So I'm going to pull from the Center for Renewing America, talking about the president's constitutional power of impoundment. Okay. Since the founding, it has been understood that Article 2 vests the president with authority to decline to spend the full amount of an appropriated fund. This common sense power, known as impoundment, was exercised for most of the nation's history. In 1974, however, at the height of the Watergate scandal, Congress enacted the Impoundment Control Act, the ICA, which purports to divest the president of his constitutional impoundment authority. This measure reverses an understanding of the Constitution's allocation of executive and congressional spending authority dating way back to the founding of the country. So the ICA, folks, is unconstitutional. So the president's Article 2 impoundment authority, all executive power is vested in who, folks? Who? You guys know this. Article 2, I've talked about this time and time again. All executive power is vested in blank, blank. Okay? Help me out. Fill in the lines. Looking for it here. Okay? It's all vested in a president is what I'm looking for there. Okay? So, this grant of authority establishes the president as the chief constitutional officer of the executive branch, entrusted with supervisory and policy responsibilities of utmost discretion and sensitivity. The president's duties are of unrivaled gravity and breadth. Now, here's the thing. We don't like it when somebody like Joe Biden is using executive power. But I'll say this much. There is a difference, because Joe Biden wasn't trying to stop spending. Okay? Y'all with me? He wasn't using it to stop spending. That's what Donald Trump is doing. Trying to claw back funds, trying to reduce the national debt, and so on. So the Constitution says what it says, no matter who's president, right? Another thing. Executive orders have long been overused. Now, people say, well, Trump's issued more executive orders than anybody, so he must be overusing the executive authority to run executive orders. No, because here's the difference. So what Democrats had done, like Biden, like Obama, Bush had done this as well, but I'm going to speak specifically to the Green New Deal, right? The Green New Scam. What they would do is tell the EPA that they had to issue rulings. See, did you guys see lately? It was just yesterday, I think Lee Zeldin is removing all these DEF requirements, that's diesel exhaust fluid requirements for these vehicles that are just taking out tractors and semis and everything and slowing them down. It's terrible. I've got a 2002 Ford Super Duty with the 7.3. It's pre-DEF. I love it. I will not buy a diesel vehicle that needs diesel exhaust fluid. Okay, so, but what the administrations were doing prior was misusing and overusing their executive authority through these executive orders, because what they were doing was making law. Now, just let's get into a conversation here. Good to see 1,121 of you on. Please smash that like and answer this question. Whose responsibility is it to make law in this country? Who's vested with the task of making law? And I'm going to pull up my stream just so I can see your comments a little bit more clearly here on my computer, because I want to see how people answer this. This is an important question. Let's see. We're right there. Okay. There it is. Congress. CMD, it's not the executive. It is Congress. Congress is tasked with making law. So it becomes, before it can become a law, it has to be a bill that passes out of the House and Senate to go to the president's desk to be signed. That's how we make laws. You can't use executive orders to make laws. Okay? So you can't tell the EPA, yeah, we're going to mandate now that vehicles do this, this, and this. No, executive orders are for exactly what Trump is doing, saying, look, we're not spending money here. We're only spending money here. Okay? In this executive agency, you're going to take lunch breaks at noon instead of 12:30. In this executive agency, all the employees need to dress in suits. Are you guys getting the difference here? Am I explaining this well? That's not a law. That is a rule within the executive agency. You can say things like, what would be some other examples? You could say all federal employees are allowed to carry guns on premises in federal buildings. Okay, that would be an executive order. That's not defying a law of Congress. Okay, so I hope everybody gets this. I mean, it's a big thing. I do want to mention my sponsor too, folks. Birch Gold. Birch Gold. Text Lumberjack to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold. Gold is up 40% year over year. It's up 20% in the last 6 months. Central banks have been on a buying binge with gold. Okay. So you can get your free info kit on gold by texting Lumberjack to 989898. Support the show, support Birch Gold, and get yourself some physical, tangible gold or silver so that you have it in times of crisis, so that you have a hedge against inflation. Right now, Trump is pushing hard to lower interest rates at the Federal Reserve. Whether or not that's successful, I believe he will be eventually. But anytime rates get lower dramatically over time, it does typically tend to cause more inflation. Gold's at 3,353 right now. That's good. Oh man, I bought in that stuff around what was it? It was like $2,000 when I bought into gold. Oh my gosh. Anyways, let's see. I got to get back to this. So that's the difference between an executive order and a law. So hopefully I'm making sense to everybody. Now, guess who this is really upsetting? And this is beautiful. Mark freaking Elias. Because Mark Elias, from February 10th of 2025, let me read from Democracy Docket. Washington, D.C., United States Agency for International Development shutdown challenge. Lawsuit filed by the AIDS Vaccine Advocacy Coalition, AVAC, and the Journalism Department Network against Donald Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Russell Vought, and 3 government agencies challenging the Trump administration's freeze on foreign assistance funding. So on January 20th, 2025, Trump signed Executive Order 14169, which directed the OMB to execute a 90-day pause in the disbursement of U.S. foreign development assistance. Okay, so I want you to just pay attention to what he did there with his executive order. Did Donald Trump make a law with Executive Order 14169? Yes or no in the chat. I want to because he can't make laws with executive orders, but did he do it there? Yes or no? I'm just curious here. I want to make sure this is so important to me because when understanding how this is applied, you're going to hear the mainstream media using executive orders, okay? And how he's just, going crazy and more executive orders than any president since FDR and blah, blah, blah. Exactly. Everybody's got it. No, he didn't make a law out of that. He didn't make a law. All he did was say, we're freezing the foreign assistance funding for 90 days. That's not making a law. Okay. So the U.S. Agency for International Development ordered the immediate issuance of stop work orders for existing foreign assistance rewards. The plaintiffs further assert that they and other recipients of the affected funds were issued stop work orders and directed to immediately cease the implementation of affected programs during the 90-day freeze. Now, interestingly enough, some of these programs were what? Gender studies in Pakistan. What were some of the ones about homosexual fish? I don't know. All these screwy things, right? And that's work to these people. I mean, I just want you to know that they're still getting paid for the work that they did with their homo frogs or transgender geese or whatever the hell else they were doing, okay? But the plaintiffs argue that EO 14169 violates the Administrative Procedure Act, Impoundment Control Act. There it is. We talked about that just a little bit ago. The ICA, the Impoundment Control Act, is the ICA, folks, based on the previous discussion here, constitutional or unconstitutional? ICA, constitutional or unconstitutional? I got to make sure everybody's getting this because we're talking about law. We're covering a lot of things here. But when you're talking with your friends, neighbors, and relatives, you need to know this stuff. Because they're going to tell you that Donald Trump is a dictator and he's gone AWOL and he's the worst guy on the face of God's green earth. And I can't believe you like Donald Trump, and the fact that you voted for him makes me want to not even be friends with you. Okay? But the reality is they're going to talk about this. Oh, I heard on the media, CNN told me that he was violating the ICA. And you can tell them, oh, the ICA. You're talking about that was a law. See, I'm going to tell you, this is a game changer. In negotiations and in sales, There is something called knowledge power. Okay? This is a big one. I'm going to give you a quick example of this. So I sold my home myself back in 2005, I think it was 2005, 2006. I rehabbed this home and I sold it myself. I didn't use a real estate agent because at that time I could tell that the market was getting a little wiggly, and they all thought it was the same market that they've always been selling in. They weren't even willing to do open houses on my home. I sold my home through an open house. I put up signs. I had people over. I did an open house, and I got an offer. And this is where it gets wild. So he went without an agent, but he had an agent because he'd bought other properties and had done some investing in apartments, right? So he talked to his real estate agent about how to best to approach me. And she talked about a home that had sold within a mile of mine for considerably less money. Okay? Somewhere to the tune of, I think, $60,000 less money. But what's really wild is before I bought my home, 6 years before, that home had been for sale. I had been inside the home. So he told me about the home that had sold and how much it had sold for. I looked it up online as I'm talking with him. And I said, wait. I said, are you talking about XYZ home? He goes, yeah. The one with the drainage ditch in the back that they call a water feature? The split level when mine is a rambler with a walkout basement? The home that has this much less square footage, the home that has had no updates. I went on, I cataloged the entire house for him. That's called knowledge power. And you know what he did? He folded like a cheap suit, folks, because I had the knowledge. So what he's telling me isn't the full story, and I had the full story. I laid that back down, and guess what? We sold the home for full price. Now, that's called knowledge power. So if you're talking with your friends, neighbors, and relatives, and you want to win the argument, you're going to have some knowledge power. So just understand this. When they tell you that Donald Trump is violating the Constitution, he's violating the Impoundment Control Act, you can let them know that the Impoundment Control Act, you can say, you mean the law that was done during the that Congress passed during Watergate scandal, the ICA? So they won't even know that. They're not even going to know where you're coming from. It's got, boom, hit them right out of the blue. Okay, I'm serious, folks. This is amazing stuff. This is the kind of thing in sales, we call it the penetrating question. You get them to think. Say, you could even do this. You could say, the ICA, the Impoundment Control Act, do you know when that was actually put in place? And they're gonna stop and look at you and go, was that like when the Constitution was formed, stop the president from, okay. And you're going to go, no, that was actually a law passed in 1974 during the Watergate scandal because they were concerned about executive authority. But do you know what Article 2 of the Constitution states? Seriously, then you ask them this question. What are they going to say? Do you think your friends, neighbors, and relatives who are blathering on about this actually know what the Constitution says when it comes to Article 2? How many of you, let me ask that, how many of you think that your friends, neighbors, and relatives know what Article 2 of the Constitution says about executive authority? How many of you think they know anything? Yes or no? When you ask them that question, what it does is it puts them on their heels because they don't have the knowledge to even answer these basic, simple questions. So then you ask them that, and they say, Article 2, isn't that like writ of habeas corpus? Or is that where they say that you have freedom of speech? And you go, well, actually, no, that's the First Amendment. You can have so much fun. Okay. Now, when you ask them that, and then you could say, well, actually, it vests all executive authority in a president and gives them the ability to impound funds to actually not make payments if they are not done in the spirit in which the law was passed. So this is where the president has this broad authority. I'll read just a little bit more on that. But the basics of it is if the money isn't being spent in the spirit in which the law was passed, see, there's no foreign aid in the studies of homosexual geese, folks. There's none. Do you guys see any benefit to anybody in Egypt by studying homo geese or doing gender studies in Pakistan or doing Sesame Street in Afghanistan? Okay? Is there any value to any of these countries? No, all we're doing is promoting wokeism in these countries and actually degenerative, debased crap, and we're actually destroying the countries from the inside. So there's nothing there. So then you can come back to them with these things about the Impoundment Control Act, about that it was done during the time of Nixon. All you need is a few facts. They don't know anything else to question you on. Okay, so they're wasting money, and he has the ability to say, whoa, we're not wasting that money. That's not in the spirit in which the law was passed. Okay, so that's impoundment, and Trump is going to use it, and he's going to use it effectively. So then once you've got them on their heels, you can talk to them about these things. Okay, so then you can ask them, do you think gender studies in Pakistan, is that really what we need to be spending our money on when we have homeless veterans on the street? That's the real penetrating question. Okay. Do you think we should be funding Planned Parenthood and abortions with people's tax dollars who are completely opposed to it? Things like this. Okay. So vest the entirety of the executive power in the president of the United States. Okay. The chief constitutional officer. So listen to this. Executive vesting clause. The impoundment power is executive in nature and thereby vested in the president by Article 2's vesting of the executive power in the president. It allows the president to act with energy and unity in the implementation of programs enacted by Congress. And it allows the president to respond to unforeseen circumstances that render the full expenditure of an appropriation inexpedient or impossible. Just like the actual conduct of foreign negotiations, right? Congress doesn't get to enter into foreign negotiations. This is when they become in violation of these Logan Acts and Hatch Acts and all these different things. That's why Jamie Raskin can't run off to another country. Or who's that idiot from Maryland who was running down to Venezuela trying to negotiate for the relief of whoever, or Maryland dad. Okay, this is the kind of stuff. The arrangement of the Army and Navy in the direction of operations of war, and the application, listen to this, this is the executive vesting clause, and the application and disbursement of the public monies in conformity to the general appropriations of the legislature is executive in nature, and those carrying out such functions ought to be considered as the assistants or deputies of the chief magistrate. So those carrying out the functions, in other words, like Russell Vought, Office of Management and Budget, with the U.S. Treasury, when they're cutting these checks, okay, they are assistants or deputies of the chief magistrate, which is the president, and he has the right to say, whoa, that's fraud. We're not giving them that money. That's fraud. Does this make sense, everybody? Do you see how it's important to have that ability? Somebody's got to be overseeing it, because all you have to do is send the Treasury a bill and they pay it. Okay, so obviously somebody has to have the power to oversee that. So that's what the impoundment power is closely akin to the president's enforcement discretion, which is undisputably executive in nature. Like the president's enforcement discretion, impoundment allows the president to set priorities and control the implementation of federal programs. Indeed, the only officer who can command a view of the entirety of the federal government and ensure that programs are being implemented in a reasonable, non-redundant manner that furthers the national interest. Congress passes statute episodically and often with conflicting purposes and demands. It is left to the president and his subordinates to harmonize their execution in a coherent manner. Because the Congress is not overseeing the Treasury. They're not overseeing all this, okay? They're supposed to be making laws. They have oversight ability, but they're not doing it. You had to have somebody who has the ability to have these he's the chief executive, but then to have these directors, these officers. So it's like, at a CEO, you have a chief executive officer, but then you have a chief technology officer. You have a chief financial officer, CFO, CTO, all these different things, right? They all report to the president, and the president can say, whoa, CTO, we're not spending that money. That's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. It's nothing unconstitutional. And the DC courts just ruled in his favor over this. Now, he is saying that he can't impound the money. That is going to be a further court fight. But right now, they do not have to spend it on the bogus contracts that was being spent on, because he has the ability to oversee that. So all of this is within Trump's ability to do. By the way, go check out my sponsor, MyPillow. MyPillow.com/lumberjack for big savings on the best sleep products available, folks. This is, look, Mike Lindell is a warrior. He has the warrior spirit. He's a true patriot. I love the guy. I've traveled with him. I got to know him more. We did the RNC together. And go check out his products at mypillow.com/lumberjack. We get the best deals. Right now, $29.98 on Percale sheets. $59.98 on Giza sheets. Donald Trump's favorite product, the Giza sheets. Go get some. I mean, you won't even want to get out of bed. They're dangerous that way, okay? So anyways, MyPillow slippers, there's a big deal going on those right now. I saw somebody mention that, but I always call the 800 number, which is 1-800-568-2865. Again, that's 1-800-568-2865. But go check out. The Lumberjack page has the best deals. I guarantee you. They always do. We get the best deals. You guys know that. My audience knows that because we have Mike on, and not all the influencers get the same deals. I mean, we're one of the top audiences for Mike Lindell, so we get better deals. Been very supportive of him. Thanks for that. I know Mike thanks you too. But that's what's going on out there, folks. Jasmine Crockett losing her seat. We've got big win at the DC course. It is non-stop winning. Don't let anybody fool you. You're going to hear these people talking about, I get texts all the time from different people, or I get little messages, and Neil, Donald Trump's screwing up. You just I'm giving that guy all the leash he needs, because I'm telling you, everything he does ends up being better than they've ever told us it would turn out in the media. The tariffs, which are supposed to create this massive inflation just came in under numbers. And not only that, inflation on the things that are actually important to us. We don't need more cheap crap from China, folks. Y'all with that? Okay? We do not need any more cheap crap from China. What we need is energy, which is going down, food, which is going down, housing, okay? Minor raise in housing prices. It's absolutely awesome. Did somebody say something here? Do we need to, like, here, let me just see something, folks. Did we see a stupid comment? Where is it? Oh, somebody already got him. Daniel Price. Thank you, Michelle. I thought I saw a stupid comment. You know, I actually like people who disagree with me on this channel. And I tell my mods to be very careful not to, ban people or, whatever, who just disagree. I have no problem with disagreements. I love it. I actually love it when people disagree. But the trolls and the bots are just, you can tell, they're always so stupid. Their comments are so dumb. They just repeat the same things, and then they just keep doing these things. But Michelle, she's a good mod, man. She just wiped him out. Oh, nuked him. Anyways, how many of you guys saw my live stream with Sean Ferris yesterday? That was flipping phenomenal. You got to hear it. He did a thing. I asked him to talk about Giza sheets, because I had to play President Trump, and they're his favorite product. And I had Sean Ferris talk about the Giza sheets. I mean, it was epic. Okay. Oh, anyways, just the guy was trolling Mike Lindell. Is that what he was doing? What a loser. I mean, Mike Lindell's awesome. He's awesome. I mean, if you can't like Mike Lindell, there's just something seriously wrong with you. I mean, seriously. Oh my gosh. Anyhow, keep fighting the good fight, folks. I love y'all. I mean, you're a great audience. Okay. Keep doing the work. I mean, we're seeing great things happening. Okay. The show was amazing and funny, as you know, yesterday. Yeah, for those who saw it, it was a lot of fun, man, having Sean Parrish on. But he's the Trump impersonator. He did a few Trump impersonations during the show. You got to go check it out if you didn't see yesterday's live. I had to, by the way, if you went back and looked at the live, or if you watched the live after replay, and you're like, whoa, this seems a little disjointed, YouTube blocked it. YouTube blocked my live because I included this one clip, and I had to just cut the whole thing out of there. Otherwise, nobody was seeing the live. So it'll seem at one spot a little odd because we were supposed to be watching a video, and I got some copyright strike. I'm thinking this is fair use. It's news, but whatever. I can't, sit there and deal with that. I got work to do, and I played mechanic this morning, fixing a car for my kids. I've got to do electrical and plumbing for my son who just bought a house. Tomorrow I'm helping him out. It's I don't know. I love my kids. Love them. We should all treat your kids well, man. But anyways, keep fighting the good fight, folks. I love y'all. Peace out.